Hello, my name is Michael Quant, and I'm the instructor for Social Work 793. I've been teaching this course for a number of years, both in person and online, and I really enjoy the course. I feel like we often find ourselves wondering if what we're doing in our clinical practice is really helping out the clients in the way that we would hope that it would be. And through practice evaluation, we can take a scientific approach to helping collaboratively developing objectives and goals with our clients and kind of measuring our progress along the way. And I think that this course is really helpful with that, in that the course not only teaches the basics of practice evaluation, but also the course project is really focused on developing and implementing a single system design. And throughout the course, you're going to be working on a project that is developing and implementing a single system design. And I'm hoping to kind of coach you along the way and try to give you some feedback to help you to improve your skills as a clinician and your ability to develop and implement a single system design project. So this is something that I've really enjoyed, specifically because I utilize it in my own practice for a number of years. I'm primarily a clinician, although I still continue to do research. I feel that no matter what you end up doing with your career, having some kind of knowledge of single system design is going to be really invaluable to you and your client. That being said, further about myself, if you need to contact me for any questions or if you have any problems or issues along the way, the best way to get in touch with me is through my email, which is mbquant@uwm.edu. I'm typically pretty fast to respond to emails, always within 24 to 48 hours, but I've gotten feedback in the past that I respond to people typically within an hour or so. If you have any kind of questions along the way, feel free to email me. Also, you can call me on my cell phone, which is listed here, 312-610-0085. Given the nature of my job, I'm not always able to respond to calls as fast. So I typically prefer the email, but if that mode of communication works better for you, feel free to call. Otherwise, I can always try to set up a Skype meeting with you if you prefer that face-to-face interaction. So I don't have office hours per se, but if you want to set something up, just shoot me an email and we'll figure it out. So a little bit more about the course is that it's a graduate social work course. Again, it fulfills the research requirements for the MSW degree, and it's intended to really enable students to develop a scientific orientation to their practice. So again, being able to quantify the work that we're doing, again, creating outcome goals and monitoring progress along the way. So the course is intended to increase students' knowledge and skills in the application of research methods and the evaluation of their own practice. And the course closely relates to the practice methods and field instructions aspects of the curriculum, and that students acquire tools for assessing progress and outcomes of their practice, and that students acquire skills in assessing progress and outcomes that they're able to apply to their field practice. So when you hear practice evaluation, as opposed to like more of a group-based type of research methods where there's a bigger sample size, which you might have learned about in more of like a research methods course, single system design is similar in some ways, but there's really just a sample size of one. So one client. And there's an emphasis on learning by doing in this course. And the course includes a number of exercises and projects along the way. I'll talk about this later, but all of the assignments ultimately build up to you being able to develop and implement a single system design project and collect real data and really analyze it. So the course is intended for students who are currently in field placement or engaging in social work practice. And the course includes content examining ethical issues in social work practice and ways in which research design and interpretation can be influenced by multicultural issues such as race, ethnicity, social class, gender, sexual orientation. So in each one of the sections, in each one of the modules for this course, I really try to focus in on ethical implications for the practice of social work evaluation, as well as multicultural issues, both of which are really important to the field of clinical practice and single system design. So some of the course prerequisites, students are enrolled in course that have graduate student status and have completed 662 or the equivalent. If you have questions about this, I would recommend contacting your academic advisor, as they'll be able to help you figure all this stuff out. But you should have also completed or be concurrently registered in Social Work 721 or 722. So being that this is an online course environment, students need to have some knowledge of D2L or familiarity with the online environment in order to be successful in this class. So if that's something completely foreign to you or that you're not comfortable with, I'd recommend transferring to one of the in-person courses. It's also important that you're able to navigate the course because all of the materials, assignments, lectures are all in this format. Everything is going to be posted to D2L. I'll try to send out or reminders via email when assignments are due, and be in correspondence if you've missed an assignment. So it's important that you're also regularly checking your school email that's listed on D2L. Also, being that this class is online, the discussion forums are all posted to D2L as well. So I'm hoping that you participate in the discussion forum, which I'll go through in further detail. And it's also important that you have regular computer access and internet access, obviously, because everything's going to be posted to the online website, and I'm going to be responding mostly via email correspondence. Along those lines, all the materials are going to be posted to D2L, including the syllabus, PowerPoints, and assignments. Okay, so the textbook for this course is not necessarily required, but strongly recommended. So if you've never touched R before and you need some additional support, I would strongly recommend Auerbach and Zeitlin SSD for R. We're going to be using R to analyze our single system design data, and it's pretty user-friendly, I would say. The 5 activities that we're going to be doing in the course build up to what you're ultimately going to be needing to do for your final paper, and I'm going to put together materials to help you to be able to feel comfortable with the software. It's mostly going to be copying and pasting code into this R Studio, so don't get too nervous about it yet. I found that even people who've got no experience with R Studio or feel kind of averse to any kind of statistical software packages have found that it's actually pretty simple and intuitive to use. So it's not quite point and click. You're probably going to be doing more copying and pasting code, but still I'm hoping to make it as easy and painless as possible. But if you do feel like you need the extra support, I would recommend the following textbook. Also, there's a link to the textbook webpage, which is ssdanalysis.com. And they have video tutorials on their website as well, which I've also found to be incredibly useful. A lot of instructors that I've spoken to have gone textbook free and just stuck with posting articles that are more recent. So I'm hoping to keep the course updated and up to date by regularly posting newer articles and chapters from books. That way it can save you additional expenses and also keep the course more current, because some of the other textbooks that I've used in the past have gotten outdated and quite expensive. So I'm hoping to keep it current and costs down to you as the student. As far as grading, the total grade is going to be based on 230 possible points. There's 5 short assignments, each one worth 20 points each for a total of 100 points. Each one of these short assignments starts you on the course to completing your final paper. So by doing the first 2 assignments, you're going to be developing your introduction section, and the third short assignment is actually going to be your method section. So in this way, there's a lot of overlap between the short assignments and the final paper. So it seems more daunting of a task than it actually is. And you should also realize that you've got one opportunity to redo the short assignments if there's anything that I can suggest as an improvement, which also helps to take off some of the pressure of evaluation or grading. And then your final paper is worth 100 points. The rubric is posted to the website, which is what I use for grading these. There's 5 R Studio activities. Again, these are all meant to help you to feel comfortable with analyzing your own SSD data. I will post the suggested due dates. They just really have to be due before the final paper is due, because it's pointless to do them afterwards, because the whole idea is that you would feel comfortable enough to use R Studio that you can analyze your own data. And then participation points is only 5 points total. This is just 5 contributions to the discussion forum at any given time. Whatever you feel so obliged to contribute. I would hope that you would try to answer, multiple questions that I've posted to the discussion forum, but if you want to reply to other people's discussion posts, that's fine too. Okay, further information regarding participation for students with disability, religious observations, call to military duty, incompletes, academic conduct, complaints, appeals are all available in the link that I've just posted. You can follow this to find out more about UWM policies on those matters. But I would just say that if you do have a student visa or have any kind of accommodations that you need for the course in order to be successful in your learning of practice evaluation, again, please shoot me an email and I'll try to work with you. It's certainly not atypical for me to try to figure out different ways that I can help accommodate students' learning needs. And my goal is to try to make you leave this course feeling as comfortable as possible with using these practice evaluation methods for single system design. Continuing along with course goals and objectives, the social work program at UWM focuses on metropolitan social issues with a commitment to social and economic justice, cultural diversity, and empowerment of individuals, families, organizations, and communities in order to affect change. So one of the unique things about being at UWM is that we work in such a large metropolitan diverse population, and I'm hoping that this course is kind of tailored in order to help you to be successful in working with the diverse population that we serve. So the goal of the MSW program is to educate and train practitioners who demonstrate the values and ethics of the profession and who are competent for specialized practice and scholarly pursuits. The course is designed to enhance students' abilities to participate effectively in their professional roles, evaluating practice, and as consumers of practice research. So in addition to learning the course materials and applying them, I'm also hoping that you can kind of walk away from this being able to understand the research that's out there and what we know and kind of the strengths of that, and also what there is left to be learned. Towards that end, the objectives of this course are to 1, use 2 or more single system design methods for collecting and analyzing data. So I'm going to be teaching 4 different methods: standardized questionnaires, behavioral observation measures, individualized rating scales, and logs. So for your practice evaluation project, I'm hoping that you can learn at least 2 of these. Also, number 2 is to identify practice problems and identify measurable goals. So you're going to be working collaboratively with your client that you identify for your projects in order to create goals. How are you going to measure those goals, and ultimately be able to evaluate your progress along the way and to write those up in a way that can be easily understood by a third party who might be looking at what you've been doing with your practice. And it's also great to be able to share this with your clients too, because they also want to know if they're making progress. Number 3 is to specify the interventions utilized. So I want to emphasize that this course is not an interventions course, and a lot of people think that it is and feel a lot of pressure towards that. But I would just say that I want you to walk away from this course being able to find evidence-based practices that you can use with your client, but you're not going to necessarily be evaluated on the efficacy of your practice of the intervention. Number 4 is to present research results in an appropriate fashion. Although you won't be evaluated on whether or not the intervention per se is effective, you will be evaluated on your ability to write up your results in an appropriate fashion. And I'm hoping that I can help you kind of learn professional ways to write up your results in a way that can easily be understood by others. And if there's any areas for improvement, I like to provide students with as much feedback as possible so that your next project can be more successful. Number 5 is to understand the connection between evaluation research and direct practice. And number 6 is to understand how issues of multiculturalism and ethics are related to the analysis and interpretation of research findings. All right, so your final grades are going to be determined as follows. You can read the percentages online, but feel free to ask me any questions that you have regarding the grading policy here. All right, so the course expectations are that students are required to actively participate and are graded on their discussion posts, as I discussed earlier. Students are expected to complete all the reading assignments, which are also posted below, which I'll discuss further. Students are expected to complete assignments by their due date unless they contact the instructor in advance. If you contact me in advance, I can work with you on extensions if there is a circumstance that comes up. But if you miss the deadline, I don't accept assignments past the due date. And that goes for everybody fairly across the board. So alternatives will be offered only in results of circumstances beyond the student's control, such as death, disaster, or disease. And failure to comply with these requirements will result in grades of 0 for the assignment. But if extensions are given, grades will be reduced by a full letter equivalent for 24 hours past the due date. Also, the instructor cannot accept sole responsibility of documents. So please, if you update to D2L, I've had it in the past where students have updated the wrong file and then said that they deleted it or things like that. It's always good to have a backup of your files. I would encourage you to try to keep a local copy and update it to D2L so that you've got 2 copies. Students' work should be in their own word except for where they're appropriately cited. So again, follow APA style with source date, page number, if you're using direct quotations. And failure to comply with these results in grounds for plagiarism and could be failing grade or university action depending on the severity of the infraction. Number 6 here, students are expected to complete the assignment by the end of the semester. Grades of incomplete will not be given except for unusual circumstances and only when the majority of graded work is completed. So that doesn't mean if you haven't handed in anything at the end of the semester, you ask for it incomplete so that you can start the semester late. That's not how this works. If you've completed the majority of the work and something comes up at the end of the semester and you just need an extension, we can talk about it then. But this is really only given in kind of extreme or unusual circumstances. A student is expected to contact the instructor within 2 weeks of receiving a grade that they feel has been awarded unfairly. And if you need accommodations to meet requirements of the course, please contact me as soon as possible. Certainly I have students contact me with student visas or special accommodations which need to be made. Some of them don't apply to the online environment, but if there is anything that I can be helpful with as far as enhancing your learning, please let me know and I'll work with you as best as I can. Okay, so regarding the assignments, the purpose of the short assignments is for students to become familiar with elements of single system design prior to writing the course paper and beginning in their final projects. I'm going to go through this in a little bit more depth in just a minute, but upon successful completion of the 5 short assignments, students should be able to have the tools necessary to complete their SSD project. So each of the short assignments are worth 20 points. You would get 15 points partial credit if the assignment is partially complete or missing something, and 0 if it's not submitted, obviously. Students who receive partial credit may redo their assignment by the next scheduled module for full credit consideration. That's one opportunity to redo the assignment for full credit. And I suppose that's only if there's like a substantial effort given on the assignment. I've only had it a couple times where students kind of have taken advantage of this and I had to enforce the one redo assignment. As far as your paper assignment, the following paper options are designed for students to collect as closely as possible real client data. The course paper is expected to be approximately 10 pages in length, double-spaced, APA format with 4 sections, and students are to select one of the following. Option 1 is to select a personal problem that a friend or family member would like to change, such as quitting smoking, exercising more frequently, and conducting a single system evaluation to measure that. In addition, written consent of the adult or assent and consent of a child parent, if working with a child, should be secured. I'd prefer that you don't work with a child for your first single system design. I would say maybe if it's your own child and you'd like to enhance study skills or something along those lines, please contact me and we can try to figure out a good plan for that. We'll also discuss how to administer written consent, and sample consent forms are provided, so I'm going to post these online. And everybody's going to need to do this regardless if it's a single system design for yourself or somebody else. Everybody's going to have to get some experience with completing assent or consent, because I'm hoping that you'll be able to apply this to your own clinical practice moving forward. Option 2 is to ask a fellow MSW student or staff member at your field placement to role play with you. But if you're going to be doing this and completing single system design with them, it's best to use a pseudonym and make sure that it's not too personal of an issue that they wouldn't want somebody else to know about the issue. And to ensure confidentiality is not broken, it's recommended that the MSW student or staff be questioned based on their experience with a number of clients, and no real client names or records should be used at any time. But option number 3, which is what most people use and probably what I'd prefer to use, would be to conduct a single system design on yourself through selecting a personal issue that you would like to change. Most often, if people want to exercise more, increase study habits, improve sleep, increase water intake, it's generally best to pick something that's easily measurable for your first single design project. The reason I say that is because sometimes people pick really complex issues, and I think especially given the summer course, that might be a little bit too much for you, especially with your first single system design. So I'd prefer you pick something for yourself and also pick something relatively easy. And even if you're doing this one, you're still expected to complete informed consent, and you should write it in the third person. So write it as if you're working with a real client here. So your paper outline, I'm going to go through each of the different sections here. You should include a cover page, APA format with name, date, course number, which paper assignment option was selected. So this doesn't count towards your 10 pages. I should also mention that this paper should be written in past tense third person. And the reason that is because by the time you're submitting your final paper, your introduction method section should be in the past tense, so it would make sense. Even though as you're writing it, it can feel kind of awkward saying that I've done this already if you haven't. But if you're discussing a single system design write-up that's already completed, make sure that you switch it to past tense for your final submission. So part A is your introduction section, and you should introduce the paper by discussing several advantages of single system design as they relate to your client and practice setting. Briefly describe the client's background, and I underline briefly because I've had people write 2 to 3 pages on a client background, and I really only need about a paragraph. So specify each of the following: client's concern, problem conceptually defined, and operationally defined. And we'll find that operationally defining a problem is half the battle here. So I'll spend quite a bit of time covering this in the section because that's really kind of the crux of single system design, is being able to operationally define your problem and being able to identify in quantifiable terms what it is that you're trying to measure with your project. Because without that, you're not going to be able to do your method section or do your results section or anything along the way. So I'm also going to be discussing goals table, and I strongly recommend that you complete a goals table to help you identify these elements and really to kind of be like a roadmap for the rest of your project. So also important here is that your single system design should focus on a single operationally defined problem. Some of the following are some of the better examples that I can think of: number of minutes of exercise per day, ounces of soda consumed per day, minutes of sleep per night, number of cigarettes smoked per day, client's daily score on Beck anxiety scale. All of these talk about which measure you're going to be doing and how frequently you're going to be measuring it. So for this project, especially since it's a summer section, I want you to do this on a daily basis, because if you do it on a weekly basis, you're not really going to have enough data to really complete your project. So I would not only encourage you, but I would require you to measure on a daily basis. Also, measuring weight loss is not going to be an acceptable project here, because there's just really no way that you can measure that meaningfully or healthy, to be honest. So seldom do I say you can't do something, but this is an example where in years of me teaching this course, I've never had this work out, and I'm just going to say no to this project whatsoever. You can certainly measure things that are related to that proximally, but that should not be the outcome goal for this project. So again, just a couple more notes on here. Due to the brief time frame of the course, please choose daily measurement. And for options 1 or 3, identify the practice setting where your friend, client, family member, or own problem might be addressed. You can use some creativity here, but just kind of use like something kind of somewhat realistic, I would say. And also how they might be referred. For a referral, you could just say it's something like they were referred by their primary care clinician or something like that. You can certainly use some artistic license here. So for your method section, you'll want to describe how the client was introduced to the single system evaluation, specify the measurement and recording plan in enough detail so that it could be replicated by another practitioner, specify each of the measures used, whether it be standardized scale, behavioral observation measure, or log, and we'll go through all those in depth throughout the semester, and provide the rationale for their use related to the client's problem operationally defined. And you're also going to be wanting to use 2 or more measures to get at that operationally defined problem. So just a note to include in your appendices of your paper, the measures used. If you're using a standardized measure, please ensure that you've obtained permission to do so if it's not something that's publicly published. Also include the letter from the author if this does come up. I've only had it come up once in several years of teaching this, but just noteworthy here. And also short assignment number 3 is going to actually include a draft of your method section, so I'll be able to give you some feedback if you're on the right track. Your results section should describe your baseline, including the purpose, length, duration, and any issues encountered with your baseline. And I think through providing any issues that you had, I get a better feel for what it was like for you to do the first single system design, and it's okay to discuss limitations or issues that came up. You'll also want to discuss a COPES question, which you're going to be discussing in further detail, about how you figured out evidence-based practices for addressing the client issue. And also like for you to state the type of single system design used, whether it's AB, just baseline intervention, or baseline intervention, maintenance phase, and another intervention. We'll be discussing this all further on later in the semester. And you'll also want to graph your SSD data, which will have the 5 activities that'll help you analyze and report on your data. You should also incorporate course content into writing of your graphs, including level, trend, continuity, improvement, deterioration. So not just like in a casual form, but like more of like a professional way to write up your result in your graphs. And then lastly, your discussion section, which is just 10 points, includes evaluation of the client's outcome, case determination, what you would do next, what went well, what didn't go well, and maybe what the strengths and limitations of your single system design are. Okay, so regarding the course schedule and the layout of the course, I've broken it down into 12 different modules that loosely correlate to the outline of what your final paper is going to look like. So we have the different sections: the introduction, goals, measurement, evaluation, designs, analyzing your data, which essentially line up with how you're going to be completing your single system design. So each of these should help you to feel comfortable with practice evaluation, and hopefully after you've completed the course, you feel a lot more comfortable utilizing these skills within your practice. So just to give you kind of an idea of what we're going to be looking at here, obviously within your syllabus, the module dates are going to be posted, as will the due dates for the assignments. But just to give you an idea of what you're going to be looking at, so for instance, section 1 is the introduction, module 1. You'll be getting an overview of single system design, why we practice it, why it's important for you to take this course. And then the discussion forum questions will be loosely related to this. I have grayed out the reading assignments just because these might be updated from semester to semester, but just to give you an idea of what you might be seeing. I have not grayed out the assignments because you'll see that in Module 2, Section 2, short assignment number 1 and 2 are posted here, and then they will be due in Module 4. If we're going to get really, really technical here, I'm hoping that if the assignment is due, you'll have it completed at the beginning of Module 4. So I'll have the exact date and the exact time here. So if Module 4, the beginning date lands on a Monday, I will give you up to 11:59 p.m. on that date to submit your assignment. And then you'll have 1 week from the time that you get your feedback to make any adjustments or corrections and resubmit for up to full credit. So again, if there is something that you're aware of now that you would like to let me know about so that you can get an extension, please email me beforehand, because if you email me beforehand, I'm pretty flexible with offering extensions. But if you email me after the fact, there's really not too much I can do. So again, Module 2, Section 2 is based on goals. So I will be posting articles or chapters kind of related to setting goals. Section 3 is measurement. So there's going to be more specific content on different types of measures that we're going to be using in the course, coming up with the measurement and recording plan, doing behavioral observations, individualized rating skills, and standardized measures. Also talk about some of the pros and cons of all those different types of measures. Within Module 5, we'll talk about reactivity and coming up with appropriate measures that you'll need to incorporate within your measurement section, which is going to be related to short assignment number 3. Due to the short time of this course, we won't get too much into evaluation designs, but I'd like to cover the different types of single system designs that are out there. So we'll spend Module 6 just talking about the different types of single system designs that are out there. For this course, your assignment's probably just going to be an A-B design, baseline, and intervention, just because we have a limited time frame for the course. But it's also good to be aware that there are different types of single system designs out there. And then lastly, Section 5 will be analyzing your results. So starting in Module 7, I will post short assignment number 4, and we'll have a variety of readings related to analyzing your single system design and also writing it up, including the write-ups of your graphs and statistical analyses, which are pretty user-friendly. So do not panic. I try to be supportive as possible because I'm well aware that people will get nervous anytime they hear the word statistics or math, or if you get nervous that your instructor's name is Quant and I'm into quantitative analysis. I try to keep it as painless and simple and hopefully enriching and educational as possible without being too critical of anybody's write-ups. In Module 10, we can see short assignment number 5 is posted, which is due in Module 12. And Module 13 is really just another module in here to have your paper due. The big things to keep in mind is to follow the reading assignments, which are going to be posted to D2L, and you'll be able to find them there and regularly updated. So just be sure to check whatever the current reading assignment is. Within Module 12, we have an optional Skype meeting. So even though I don't necessarily have office hours per se, I'm happy to set up a Skype meeting with you or a telephone call or whatever is most convenient. So I look forward again to meeting you all throughout the semester, and feel free to email me with any questions, comments, concerns. I've gotten a lot of feedback that I'm really quick to respond to email, so please do not hesitate to email me with any questions. I look forward to working with you all throughout the semester.